So I'm Sovereign Curtis, and I am being dragged into a confrontation with the horrible, evil state over personal property, my property, me. Um, it's pretty interesting. I think Nashville is going to become more of a playing field for civil disobedience because the police are willing to play hardball, whereas the Nashville or the Keene police, they've kind of learned better and they stopped harassing us. So you can donate directly to my legal defense fund. I'm hiring, got two really good Free Stater lawyers who are into civil disobedience and into voluntarism, and they're willing to take on the state and try to limit my liability as much as possible. And you can reach that through the Civil Disobedience Evolution website, cdevolution.org.
When's your trial, and do you want people there?
I still have to be arraigned at the Superior Court level, and I haven't got a date for that yet, but it should be after July 14th, probably before August 1st. And my actual trial, if it takes place, probably won't be till the fall or winter.
So, what to tell you guys about? I guess I'll talk about the experience of when they arrested me.
Michelle.
You know, I was just going there to film. I wasn't really planning on spending almost 2 months in jail. And there was, the cops were really angry and aggressive and were hurting me and kind of laughing about it. And they drugged me, you know, they tried to intimidate me by saying when we were in the squad car, you know, when we get to the jail, those guys are real busy and they don't have time to mess around, meaning you better walk or you're going to get hurt. And they had, I think all 8 of them, most of the people that were on duty, to drag me into the booking area. Then they didn't have a cell available, so then they put me in the visitor room, and then they threatened to tase me because I was just limp, and they were trying to take the handcuffs off to leave me in there. And I think one of the guards realized that I wasn't aggressive or violent or anything like that, and actually just held my hand against me so the other guard wouldn't tase me while I was laying limp on the ground. And then eventually they cleared out the rubber room and put me in there, where I spent. There's a car coming. Watch out, guys. Car. Game off. Game on. Where there was, you know, just it was padded with rubber. I started scratching Free Keene into the wall after a couple days with my fingernails until they ran down. And the first night, like one of the guards came in, nice guy, Rich. He's I think one of the more friendlier people to me now. Came in and said, you know, will you tell us your name? What's your name? And I just looked at him or said, I'm Sam, I am, and they didn't like that very much. And he said, you know, your friends are gone. They were here earlier, but they all left. And you know, he wanted me to feel forgotten, alone, all of that, because it's, you know, it's a very scary thing to go through this and experience this for the first time. And when he said that, though, he kind of gave himself away, because I knew if they showed up that it wasn't probably just a couple of them. It was probably more than that. And I started to learn over time that they were trying to downplay the experience on the outside, which tells me that that's really what they're trying to do, is isolate you and make you feel all alone, like nobody cares. And so having something like the Civil Disobedience Evolution Fund really makes a big difference, because it was those guys on the outside working to get Ivy in to counsel. Eventually, when they saw that I had scratched Free Keene into the wall with my thumbnail, they decided to move me up to solitary confinement in what was called East Block. and I was still just limp. They brought in clothes, told me to change. I didn't change, so then they just stripped the clothes off of me and dressed me in their orange jumpsuit. And then they dragged me with rubber gloves on my arms, which left bruises for several days up to East Block. And as I'm being dragged in, the other guys in East Block that are all from, fights and things like that, and one dude was huge, bigger than Pete Air. And they're seeing me being dragged in, they're like, whoa, what the fuck did you do? And so eventually we started talking, and it led to some really great conversations in there. The guards came up like the third day, dropped off paperwork that said you're facing 3 years in jail. And they said if you want to do something about it, you can motion the court. And I asked, well, how do I do that when I don't have a pencil and paper? And he said, well, that's not my problem. So,
Use your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So, they do everything they can to isolate you, make you feel alone, cause you to, make you want to give in and just, okay, get me out of here, I give up, I quit. They really want to dominate people and sort of break their will and have them respect and bow to their authority. So they came up and asked me if I wanted to process when I still laid there in the cell. They went back downstairs and told my lawyer, or counsel, Ivy, that they told me that she was here and that I dropped to the floor, laid down, and refused to come down and see her. So that was against the law. If your lawyer's downstairs, you have the supposed right to counsel at any time. And they not only denied me that, but they lied and didn't even tell me that she was here. Went down and told her that they told me that she was here, which they didn't do, so they lied to her as well. Again, this is all just, they're hoping to break me at this point. And this is the kind of, this is the way it works. This is what they do. Eventually, I did get in to see Ivy, and that was all arranged through CD Evolution. So this fund was really the first contact. And it was